All right. You wanted the best. You got the best. The hottest stream in the land. It's the Nerd Champs. We're coming to you straight from beautiful, sunny, and it was sunny today, Ohio, Southwest Ohio. And we are going to, for another week, subject ourselves to the torture that is known as Alien Earth and talk about it with you fine people.
For some reason, nobody knows why. There are a lot of things that we don't know, and in this world. And one of the things we don't know is why Dan and I have continued to watch this show when we hated it from the very beginning. I have no idea why we're still involved in this, but here we are. We're masochists. We watch the bad stuff so you don't have to. You're welcome. This is our public service.
Yeah. How do you say it, Tim? I want to make sure. Quixotic, like we're Don Quixote. What do you call the quest?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
A quixotic.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say it right, but yeah, it's a quixotic quest to get
Yes,
to the end.
Right. That's right.
The last time we embarked on a review journey of a truly awful show was Ironheart, and we made it 3 episodes, and then we both traveled, and then we both decided we're never going to finish that show, at least the review of it. Tim may watch the rest of it. I'm not going to watch it yet.
I haven't yet. And I really haven't felt compelled to. That's the thing. These bad shows, you don't really feel like you have to, and so why would you? So anyway.
The power of the mouse compels you. The power of the mouse compels you. The power of the mouse compels you.
That's right. The mouse. I hate the mouse.
Goddamn show, it's
great. I hate the mouse so much. Oh, I hate it so much. It's so terrible. It ruins everything. It ruins everything that was near and dear to my childhood. And I just don't know what else to say about it. It's killing everything that it touches like gangrene. It's just awful.
And as we sit here bemoaning the death of our fondness, like we're not dyed-in-the-wool alien fans. We're not like our friend Bone Bridger. We don't have Wayland Yutani merch. But we at least had really fond memories of watching Alien and Aliens and how cool those xenomorphs were, and vague memories that after Aliens, the quality fell off a little bit, but not scarring memories that hurt our fond memories of the first 2. You know what I'm saying? It was just kind of like, oh yeah, it kind of went downhill from there, and I kind of zoned out. But you could still just look at the first 2 and be like, man, those were good. And so, but as they crap on yet another IP, I want you to know out there, if you have any thoughts or original ideas, Bob Iger is on a hunt for IP that will bring young men back to the theater. Okay. The owner of Marvel, Star Wars, Predator, and
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones. Yeah. That guy, the guy who owns all of that, recently reacquired the Fantastic Four and the X-Men to fold into his Marvel. He wants to know why men don't want to come to his movies, and he wants to acquire some of your IP to try to make that happen. And if you think giving it to him to manage is a good idea, let me refer you back to Marvel, Star Wars, the Predator. But I digress. We did watch an episode of this abysmal show this week. Before we jump into the comments, Jason is not here. Jason was not here last week. He plowed through like a real champ. I think he's giving us excuses for why he can't be here because he doesn't want to watch the show anymore. I feel like maybe that's part of it. But before we go into the comments, me and Tim have to give Jason his props. Let the people know what Jason did.
I gave him credit a few weeks ago for this, but it's something that I think that I still can't. I don't know what he saw in the first couple episodes to make him think that they were going to do this, but he specifically said after the first review, you can go back and watch it on our channel, she's going to sick a xenomorph on somebody like a dog. She's going to be able to talk to them. They're going to be like her pets. And I thought that was the silliest thing I'd ever heard. I didn't say it at the time, but I was like, that's interesting. But I could not, but I got to give Jason props, man. He called it because
Yep.
I think that Dan and I, we just did a show on the Bone Bridgers channel, and Dan mentioned it. He said that every single IP that is currently owned, what the owning studio does is they take it all the way down to the studs to find out exactly how far they can push it before they completely and totally like make their audience so mad that they can't take it anymore. And then you know that they got all the way to that point. And that's exactly where I think this show, I do think this is the alien version of The Acolyte. I think that it is universe destroying. I think that it is canon destroying. I think that it absolutely, positively eliminates all of the lore that was set before it, all of the great filmmaking and genius that was Ridley Scott that built this universe is out the window. All of that doesn't matter. All that matters now is this new story that Disney is trying to build and sell to us. And I just think that that's unfortunate. You know, this is what happens when these studios get these properties. They feel like they have to do something new, something fresh, something that you haven't seen before. And because of that, they completely and totally ignore the stuff that came before it. They don't have any reverence or any respect for what came before it. And that's how we end up with a show like this. We end up with a show like this because some guy thought we've got to show them something different with xenomorphs. No, you don't. Okay. You don't need to show us new stuff with xenomorphs. You don't need to show us new stuff with Indiana Jones. You don't need to show us new stuff with Marvel. You don't need to show us new stuff with Star Wars. You don't need to show us new stuff in any of that. You just need to show us exactly what we expect. And this is not what any Alien fan would have expected. That's why they're going to hate it.
Yeah. We have people have bemoaned for years. They say Hollywood is out of new ideas. They're out of fresh ideas. They just remake and recan stuff. But I think that that's not the problem. It's been misstated. They're full of new ideas. They're full of fresh new ideas. I guess the thing is the studio wants a familiar name on the title of everything. So what they do is take things that you used to love and put it in the drag of whatever it was that you loved, but it's not that. That's the problem. They don't actually like the thing that they're advertising it as, and it's not that thing. It's a whole new thing. But they're pretending. That's why it's why you get films like Joker and Joker 2. You know, I know there were people out there who like Joker, but Joker was a Scorsese movie in Batman drag. That was never, it was not the genre it was supposed to be. And this is some kind of fifth-rate Blade Runner masquerading as Alien. And it's like, go to whichever studio owns Blade Runner and make this show. You know, and then find somebody who actually likes Alien and Aliens and make an Alien show. And then if you can't find anybody, don't make a show. Re-release Aliens in theaters for a week and promote it like you did Revenge of the Sith and make your Alien money that way. You know, but if you can't find anybody who even likes this stuff and understands it and has any kind of regard for it, just don't make it. Don't make it. I mean, don't just cram your new thing. And
Dan, I think you've said this before, and I think this is probably the thing that I just don't understand about Disney is Disney could have made a killing, like an absolute killing, just focusing on the IPs that they already owned and having a streaming channel that exclusively has that content. No one else has this content. Only us. We're the only ones that have Alien. We're the only ones that have Predator. We're the only ones that have Marvel. We're the only ones that have Star Wars. We're the only ones that have and have that content. Forget your original content. Just have that content, like the original IP content that had all of your Disney Vault stuff in it, all of those properties, as well as your Pixar, your Disney animated studios, all that stuff, that people would have paid for that and felt like they were getting their money's worth. But
Right.
the reason nobody is paying for Disney Plus anymore is because you're trying to cram all this garbage original content down our throat. You're trying to show our kids stuff that we don't even want to show our kids anymore. You're trying to show us all of you're trying to ruin all of these IPs with all of this hours and hours of content that just dilutes the stuff that was already good. And now you introduce a show like this, like I said, and the Acolyte and a couple other things, and we've got the Predator movies that they've released. We've got one coming, and we've got one they've already released this year, and both of those look terrible. They can't help themselves. They have to release this content because they feel like, well, we own it, we should utilize it. You don't need to do that with original content. It's already good. Just leave it the way it was, and they just can't leave well enough alone. If they would have done that, people would have paid what, $5.99 a month for that and felt happy about it, right?
Yeah.
But now they feel like they have to do this original content, and I don't know why.
People are still paying whatever it is, $10, $9, $12 a month. I mean, for Bluey, just for instant Bluey, because here's the thing: if you're buying Disney Plus to plop your kid down in front of Bluey, you're paying for the ad-free tier. Because if you want your kid zoned out in front of the TV, you don't want an ad to come on and have the kid come annoying you. That's your babysitter for right now. Right? So people are actually lining up and paying whatever it is. We don't even know what it is to get rid of the ads on Disney Plus because we're too cheap to not have the ads on just Disney Plus. And I do know, since these ads are so well targeted to their audience, I know that I can have all of the promiscuous, anonymous, unprotected gay sex I want. And I will not get HIV because the Alien Earth show has taught me that one thing. Because I forget what it's called. It's in the, I don't know. You can get a prescription, and I think you only take it once a month. And then like you could just go wild, because I am definitely the guy that needs to know how much anonymous gay sex I can have.
And that is me. That's a good point, Dan. And it's not. Here's the thing. That's of course an extreme example, but the fact of the matter is, where are they getting these sponsors from, man? Like, what kind of people do you think are the audience on Disney Plus? And the fact that we can look at the advertising and say, oh, this is who they think the audience is. That tells me everything I need to know. You know what Disney Plus should be loaded with? Toy commercials and cereal commercials and Lucky Charms and stuff like that. It should be loaded with kind of the stuff that used to be on Nickelodeon when I would get home from school as a kid. That's the kind of stuff that should be on Disney Plus. The fact that you've got prescription drugs and all that kind of stuff, that tells you exactly that they've completely abandoned what they're supposed to be and have focused more on what they want to be. And I think that the Disney's grasp of what their audience is it's been a problem for a long time. I would like to argue that it started with Kathleen Kennedy, spiraled into Kevin Feige, and now it's just a disease that's spread throughout the entire company. And so I don't know what else to do, but yeah.
In case you're watching this and you pay for the ad-free Disney and you want to have lots of anonymous gay sex, it's Apritude. Ask your doctor about Apritude. It's in the text stream where I was complaining to Tim about this episode because the Apritude was the most. And here's the thing: if you're going to have prescription drug commercials for your Alien show, your target audience is me and Tim and guys that are about 4 or 5 years older than me. Because believe it or not, the first Alien movie is as old as I am. So like the people who watched it when it was in theaters and stuff are like 12, 13, 15 years older than me. So if you're going to have prescription drug commercials, it shouldn't be for Apretude. It should be for Cialis, you know, and maybe Ozempic.
Yeah, I was
That's
gonna say there's
those should be your.
there's a lot of things that they could do for people our age if they really want to get our attention, but they just have not really, and that just it just speaks to the whole thing. They just don't know who their audience is, and the audience that they should be listening to, they're not listening to. But yeah, it's a company wide problem, and I just don't see it getting any better anytime soon.
Yeah, and you're right. People would gladly, I mean, they're paying all that money for Bluey right now if they were not destroying all the IP. And like I talked to you before, I couldn't watch Winter Soldier the other day. It was just on TV. And there was a line in there of Nick Fury saying the last time I trusted somebody, I lost an eye. And as soon as he said that, it took me out of that film. And I was like, oh, a space cat ate his eye. And a stupid movie about Captain Marvel. And then he married a Skrull. And then, and Colby Smulders was there. And I'm like, oh, yeah, she's going to get fridged in the second episode of a crap television show. And it's not even going to matter. So I'm like, see, these things that they do, like now you don't want to pay $4 or $5 a month just to watch the things that are in the vault because they ruined all of them.
And that's the thing. Like, here's the thing. The thing about like Prime, I don't feel like I really pay for Prime. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I pay for Amazon Prime for my delivery convenience anyway, and I just happen to get the videos. Okay.
Right.
So knock yourself out, make all the original content you want. I don't feel like I'm wasting my money paying for that because right. I get my other stuff. I just happen to get the perk of the videos. That's why I really don't rail against Amazon content, because not only does Amazon actually put out some good stuff, but they really don't have the same business model, so it's not even comparable. People who pay for Disney Plus are paying exclusively for Disney Plus content, and they are wondering why they're having to resort to advertising for something that was just hyped for years, right? It was just hyped in like 2017, 18. Wait till Disney Plus comes out. It's going to be amazing. The Disney Vault, you can see any Disney movie you want anytime, because Disney was the one studio who would only do really selective stuff on Netflix. They would do really, really selective stuff on all the other streaming platforms. It was, and even some of the other stuff, it's like it might not be available on streaming the same time as all the other releases and all this. Disney was very, very finicky with all of that. But now it was like, all you got to do if you want to watch Disney content is pay this, $5 a month or whatever it is. And that was a great idea. But then they started watering everything down with all this original content, and people felt like that's what they were paying for. If what I'm paying for is The Acolyte and Ahsoka and Mandalorian Season 3 and Book of Boba Fett and She-Hulk and Ms. Marvel, then I'm just done. I don't want to keep paying for that. And so I actually, before we started doing this, I actually didn't pay for it. I had completely pulled out of Disney Plus. I couldn't have cared less that I was missing their content. And then Bonebridger asked me to do the Acolyte review, and for some reason I paid the extra $2 a month. But and the rest is history. But that's, if I wasn't doing this show, I don't think I would have Disney Plus. I don't know about you, Dan. I don't think I would.
Inertia, I think, is the only thing that keeps me having it. I remember I was excited for Disney Plus when I first got Disney Plus. One of the first things I watched, I did a complete rewatch of DuckTales. I mean, like you're saying,
Darkwing Duck.
Darkwing
Duck and Boy Meets World. I watched every episode in like 3 days. Okay,
I'm doing my Darkwing Duck rewatch right now. I really am. Just the other day, I got a scene in the middle that was formative for me, and it tickled me so much to see it again. They were in a volcano, And Darkwing's like, I got to remember the teachings of my yogi. I've got to do my mantra. A-I-O-U and sometimes Y.
Hey, I'm just glad that the Disney Channel was able to give Jim Cummings regular work for like 2 decades. Okay, but between the Adventures of Winnie the Pooh and DuckTales and Darkwing Duck and Chippendale Rescue Rangers. I mean, Jim Cummings had work for 2 decades that he never had to worry about a paycheck. That's for sure.
Yeah. It was a beautiful time. It was a beautiful time. And so again, they didn't need to bombard us with crap. They had so much stuff that people were so excited to pay a little bit of money to watch. And I don't know. Anyway, the crap at hand is the alien crap. And I think I'm going to let the comments help us weed through the turd pile we sat through this week. I sat through it yesterday. He's always on the ball. He sat through it on Tuesday. Dog. How did they get from the vent in the lab to his bedroom unnoticed?
I don't think anyone knows. I mean, how does anything in this show happen? It just all conveniently happens to move the plot forward. Okay, so yeah, the very end of the last episode, the lab guy gets face hugged, and the kid,
Arthur,
has to whatever his name is. Yeah, and whatever the kid's name is has to drag him into the vent to get away from the bees that eat minerals or whatever it is. Okay, and then as soon as he gets in there, the bees just stop pursuing him for some reason. Okay,
yeah,
and then after that happens, then somehow they end up at the beginning of this next episode in his bedroom.
yeah,
Just magically in his bedroom. Just we end up beam me up, Scotty, just into his bedroom. So I don't get me wrong. I've seen Die Hard. I know that vents can be a way to get from one way to the other. It's just not an efficient way to drag a 200-pound man. But I don't. The way that anything happened in this lab or on this island unnoticed is just a mystery to me. I don't know how any of that is ever a thing to explain. So yeah, nothing in this show is explainable with logic. So
no,
it happened because of reasons. That's really
it doesn't work for story structure either, because we've got Slightly, right? Slightly is the little whiny one that the guy's talking in his head. He manages to get Arthur, our hippy dippy granola guy. Mm-hmm. He manages to get Arthur with Facehugger to his room, totally undetected, off screen. That might have been a tense, dramatic situation to watch him try to accomplish, but no.
That could have been a whole episode. It could have been a whole episode just trying to get him to the bedroom or trying to get him to the beach or wherever in the heck he was going. That wasn't all they did. You just look up and he's in the bedroom.
Yeah, no. And he's in the bedroom. He's managed to get it there undetected. But when we open up, immediately Smee, Slightly's little buddy, bangs on the door until he opens it with Arthur's arm hanging out from under the bed. This is the ninja capability of Slightly, that he answers his door with the hidden Facehugger man's arm hanging out from under his bed. And yet somehow he managed to get this guy all the way from the lab to his bedroom undetected. And then
it's just so stupid. It's so stupid.
And then at the point he convinces Smee to help him, because of course he does. That makes no sense. It takes two super-powered hybrids. I mean, we will revisit their superpower by the end of this episode.
Yeah,
to pick up one man and carry him out of the room. One of them grabs his arms and the other one grabs his legs. Like, why? What are we doing here? You should be able to juggle three of him, each of them. Did we
Yeah.
forget the part where they were
I
like bionic?
that's something I've yeah, the powers of the synth seem to be very inconsistent, and we'll get into that. We'll get into that for sure. So yeah.
Yeah, that was just yeah. We've got they're all basically the $6 million man, but it takes two of them to take one unconscious man out of the room. Barry Allen, so like, why is there no security at the lab? No guys outside the doors, no dude watching screens, all of these dangerous creatures that we know killed the crew of a ship, but nothing. There we go. That's what we have.
Yeah.
That's what we
I
have.
don't
Cricket.
I don't under yeah, and it's not like there was nobody on this lab, like nobody on this island. There's tons of Prodigy employees on this island. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
and I get that maybe there was some secretive element to it, and I get that maybe they didn't know what it was, so they didn't want to put people in. But yeah, it doesn't make any sense. You would think something that they have that much invested in and that is this big of a deal, and that you know that your competition is trying to steal, you would think that would be something that would be guarded, but I don't know.
Well, like when Boyle Cavalier sees the dead one on the floor in the lab, what does he say? Like, there's a like, what was it, 6 billion, $9 billion gone, you know? But and we know that there are cameras in the lab because on home from their little arbitration meeting, Kirsch was watching him die on that
Yep.
camera. So
Yep.
why is Kirsch the only one who watches that camera? Like nobody else? I think I know
It
why, Tim.
it it makes no sense. It makes no sense, and we'll get into Curse later because he's a whole other storyline that makes no sense. But the everything involved in this, it's almost like, you know how Bone Bridger said that at the end of the Marvels, they basically just told the guy, "Hey, just make sure that Fury ends up on the spaceship, you know,
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
space
On the end
station."
of yeah.
All right,
See,
that's what he said. Make sure Fury ends up in the space station. I think
yeah,
that's kind of this showrunner basically just was told, "Hey, by the very end, make sure that Wayland Yutani owns the creatures. That's all you need to make sure of. Anything else that happens, have fun." So yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think I know why no one is watching that monitor. Every single security officer and member of security personnel on the whole island has to be waiting on that one boat to ambush Wendy and her brother just in case they decide to get away. They all just are they're waiting there
It's
just in case.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous that yeah, the amount of security that shows up at other points in this episode. I'm sure we'll get into it later.
Yeah, yeah. And yet nobody watches that monitor to see to see the $6 billion hybrid get eaten by bugs or the other guy get a face hugger. But anyway, Jon Snow knows nothing. The security did show up eventually when Chris surrounded Morrow and his guys. So we know they exist, just none of them watching the lab. So we had two teams, right? We had one team waiting to ambush Wendy and her brother, and the other team was waiting because, of course, Kirsch let Smee and Slightly get away because this was his whole plan, I guess. He anticipated
And
everything. He
that
anticipated.
yeah,
Uh,
and it's a terrible plan. It's like, okay, I'm gonna put this moron in charge of the lab, and I know that because he's a moron, that he's
hmm,
going to get killed, and I know that when he gets killed, that this other kid is going to be blackmailed into coming in and getting this guy face hugged, and I know that when that guy gets face hugged, that it'll implant a thing in him, and I'll have to go in the jungle and I'll be able to find that little thing in the jungle and throw a net over it. It's a stupid plan that makes no sense. Okay.
yeah,
The only way that makes sense is if you are the writer that thought it was a good idea. There is
yeah,
absolutely no way that anybody saying that to themselves in a mirror thinks that that's a plot that anybody would buy.
yeah. I know for absolute certain that Smee and Slightly will take off at such a time that the chest burst thing, it will burst out of his chest before they get into the shore in time for Morrow. Because if they had gotten Arthur to the shoreline with the alien, the xenomorph still implanted in his chest, right? Morrow would have collected Arthur and turned around on his heel and left. That was plan A.
Yeah.
Plan A was like, oh, this is the guy with the thing in his chest. And they'd be like, that's him. Like, deuces. That was plan A. And yet Kirsch knew. Kirsch knew. He knew exactly when the chest burst was going to happen. I mean,
it's just so ridiculous, man. I mean, everything there, and then he knew that Wendy would be able to control the xenomorph, and he knew. I mean, there's just so much here that makes no sense. That is just Kirsch, just being clairvoyant, and being able to see things. He's the oracle. He can just see everything that's going to happen. It's ridiculous.
He's Nostradamus.
On its face, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, none of this, because when he first lets them go, I texted Tim as I was watching this. Okay, so he just told them to get on the elevator to get him out. I know I'm supposed to wonder what his motivations are, but I really, really don't care. At that point, I could have cared less why. And then when I found out why, I'm like, oh, it's because he's so smart that he knew everything that was going to happen in this totally random set of events.
It's insane. I mean, it's totally insane when you think about it. Like, who wrote that, and who thought that building up from episode to episode, that was the big reveal. It makes no sense.
Yeah, and I think you were right, Tim. We were saying before we went on here, you don't think anybody even cares anymore. Nobody reads this stuff. Nobody fact checks it. Timothy Oliphant has been in some very good shows. Justified was a very good show. Deadwood is an all-time classic. So he knows what the structure of a good story looks like.
He also had good characters in The Mandalorian and The Office. Yeah. We're gonna give him props on both of those.
Yeah. And so in Scream, he was in which one? 2?
Yeah. He was in 2.
And it's just, which the Scream movies are so tightly scripted. It's the kind of twisty, turny plot in the first few Scream movies that they're trying to do here and absolutely failing. In Scream, things fall into place, and it does it so neatly that, like, if you pick it apart, would it really have happened like that? But as you're watching it, you're like, oh, wow, look at it all fall together. This, it just all falls together, and you're like, that's retarded. Like, on the face of it, as soon as it happens,
Yeah. When we're talking about the reaches that your brain has to make, the disbelief that you have to suspend, all right, to actually say to yourself that the xenomorph is more believable than the storyline. That is how you know that you're just way too deep in, guys. I don't know.
It's anyway, we'll go on to so let me get this right. This was the characters of Blade Runner in the setting of Predator running from a xenomorph that was trained like Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon. How original.
Yep, nailed it.
Yeah, and insert IP in Blender, hit puree. I think that's Disney's only move now.
Yeah, I mean, and look, and this is what they're going to do with the new Predator thing. We know there's an android in the new Predator movie that's coming out and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, this is what they do now. They're just they can't just have an IP and have it be the genre that everybody expects and the storyline that everyone expects. They got to change it up. That's what they feel like they have to do.
Now we've got Kirsch has the weirdest motivation. Essentially let this whole lab fiasco happen to catch Morrow and his goons. I guess. I mean, are we to take away that was the plan the whole time?
I maybe I don't know. And this is just the dumbest thing, because like we said, all the things that had to fall into place for that to happen exactly the way that he wanted it to happen anyway, or to get the ending that he wanted out of it. And then, yeah, he ended up catching Morrow, which we know that he doesn't like Morrow, okay, because they had that exchange in the elevator and they work for rival companies. But I mean, you know, I just don't understand. I guess I just don't understand why Curse he had everything. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was there. Like, so you essentially let all the aliens loose to catch the
Yeah.
alien, and then you could catch Morrow because he was after the alien. I guess. Like, that makes my head hurt. I don't understand that. Morrow was going to come to the lab and try to get it anyway.
Yeah.
So why did you have to let it out? I don't know. The whole thing is just so dumb. It just
Yeah.
can't.
Because from the moment that he overheard or discovered Morrow talking to Slightly through his head, like, he's known about that for like 3 or 4 episodes now. He told no one. So what you're to take away from that is that he devised this plan at that moment. This was the long-term plan, as opposed to being like, hey, let's bulk up security. They're going to come. They're trying to do an inside man. It's like, we're going to lose some pieces off the board. Okay, guys, we're going to lose Arthur. We're going to lose one of our $1 billion hybrid android people. we're going to make some sacrifices. All right. But
Yeah. I don't know. I can't even, like, it just makes my head hurt trying to think about how it makes sense for any of his plan to have worked the way that it was supposed to work. And yet here we are where everything worked exactly perfect and he got exactly the ending he wants. I don't know. It's weird.
I I feel like they were trying to, because halfway through the episode, I began to believe that Kirsch was a plant by Weyland Yutani. That he actually worked for Weyland Yutani all along, and I guess I felt like they were leading me that way. And now I
But then
feel
why
like
would
Fred
but then
would.
why wouldn't he let Morrow in on that? Just be like, "Hey, moron, I'm on your side. Just, I got it." I don't know. The whole thing's
Yeah.
just weird.
Well, I think there's a natural dislike between cyborgs and synths. I think that just goes deep, and so
Oh, so it's kind of like it's a it's a parallel to maybe something going on in our world or something about groups
yeah,
that don't get
yeah.
along or something. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. So they're both trying to curry favor. That's what I've thought. But I think they did that whole thing to make me think that so that they could pull the rug out from under me. And he wasn't working for Weyland Yutani. He had this brilliant plan. It's like you went too far. You went to the too far in the he's a saboteur vein to come back and act like he had this planned out. That's just that's not it. Oh, let's go here. I am not going to say you were right. Lots of show left, but this was not my favorite episode. Okay, I am the night. Just go ahead and admit it. It sucks.
Dan and I have been front half whores too. We did that with Rings of Power. We were telling everybody how crazy they were, man. You guys just
Yeah.
don't. You guys are just too far into your appreciation for Tolkien. You don't understand what they're trying to do, and we were dead. We were dead wrong. I mean, we've done it too,
Yeah.
so we totally get it.
Yeah, we get it. And I'm going to tell you, the first couple episodes at least had the right look, the right feel, the right set design, the right costume design. They've thrown all that out the window. I'm gonna get through the comments, but they don't even have that anymore. By the time we get to here, like we already said, it's on the Predator set. It's not dark anymore. It's not spaceships. It's not even futuristic landscapes. We're in the woods, in the bright sunshine. So Josh said there's something that so the redhead unexpectedly crashes out and starts killing people. And Wendy's response to them shooting her with the electric gun was, "What did you do?" Oh,
We killed the crazy person. That's what we did. Like, it's
yeah,
not, you know, I
yeah,
I I don't understand why you are surprised that we killed the crazy person that was, by the way, killing us. Okay.
yeah, yeah. I mean, who was shocked to see Nibs finally go full on cuckoo cachoo nutso and start killing people? Was anybody surprised? I know we were. I mean, it was like that was the least.
Wendy.
Yeah,
Wendy was surprised. Wendy, the person who said, "Hey, I don't think it's a good idea to wipe her memory." Or I don't
yeah.
think it's a good idea to start messing with us. I don't think that's a good idea, guys. What if something happens? Oh, this is the something that can happen. I you know, it it's so funny because on one hand, Wendy is smart and Wendy, has this philosophical mind of like a 28-year-old of a 28-year-old where she's saying, oh, well, xenomorphs are just like bees and all this stuff,
Yeah,
and she gets to
yeah.
all this moralizing and all this equivalency of all this stuff, and then on the other hand, she has absolutely no idea that all the negative impact of the stuff that she's been preaching is going to come to fruition. It's just ridiculous. It's like, you're the one that was telling everybody this was a bad idea. Why are you
And,
surprised that she started crashing out and killing people?
and you get to that ship, and of course, her brother's whole crew that we've already met, and who are really the only relatable characters in this whole cluster. I mean, really, am I supposed to root for Wendy, who just sicked a xenomorph on an entire island of basically slaves and indentured servants? Because it's been well established that Mr. Kid Cavalier calls all the shots, and these people have no agency in their lives. And, these Marines that work with her brother are just glad to be in safety for a minute while they patrol this island. And you got to think the people who clean up the mess in the in the lab after the huge accident that Kirschlet happened, you got to think that they're not high level executives. They're not calling the shots, but no, she sicks a xenomorph off of them to eat them all. And,
Yeah,
and so are we supposed to root for her? Or we got
yeah,
crazy Nibs
yeah,
talking about
yeah,
having her
exactly.
android baby, and then we get to the boat, and the Marines come out, and of course we have one Marine like being a total jerk and saying crappy things to Nibs and throwing her stuffed animal in the ocean. And it's just like, how lazy is this writing that you made this guy a dick just so we can all feel justified? We can all relate to Nibs when she rips his face off. She ripped off his face because he threw a stuffed animal in the water. Okay. And I know that you made him a jerk so that I could be like, go Nibs. You rip off his face. Rip off some more faces, Nibs. I mean, are the writers of this freaking retards? Why? I'm not rooting for Nibs. I'm not rooting for Wendy. I
I,
don't care about Wendy's brother.
I'm too weak right now. This is great. This is legitimately one of the funniest things. One of the funniest writing moments in the entire series is when they had her rip that guy's face off, and I, I don't know what else to do at this point. When I'm supposed to be terrified in a moment, and all I can do is laugh at how bad the writing was that led to that. Like you're saying, Dan.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness,
yeah,
that's if anything, if she was going to have any kind of a crash out, it needed to be on somebody that was a well-established character that had pushed her too far, like the wife. What's the
yeah.
wife's name? I forget. Someone that
The
had pushed her too far, or somebody that had messed with her too much. That would have
yeah,
been more. That would have been more believable than just some rando guy that we were introduced to that was pushing her too far and threw the stuffed
yeah,
animal over
yeah.
the
I was like,
cliff.
oh, we need to have a jerk here. We need to have a jerk here. So let's make sure that everybody knows that it's okay for Nibs to kill this man because he's a jerk. I haven't seen a worse piece of writing where the writer's room thinks the audience is over here, right? And really, the audience is way over here. Like, what is wrong with you since Fiddle Faddle? This is right up there with Daredevil and Fiddle Faddle.
That's
You
no,
know?
you're dead on. I mean, it's Fiddle Faddle. It's the Acolyte when they were going back and forth with the motivations. It made no sense, right? It made no
Yeah.
sense. It's like OSHA's good, OSHA's bad, OSHA's good, OSHA's bad. Why? Because reasons. We need her to be with this character right now, so she's good. We need her to be with this character right now, so she's bad. And and so that was what happened with the Acolyte. And then, like you said, in Daredevil, it's just like, oh, well, we need to do some kind of preachy moment. Let's do our preachy moment with this petty thief. All right, this petty thief and we're gonna give him this lengthy pontification about how he just likes caramel corn and how he's had it rough, and we should all just let him steal the caramel corn, and people will be on our side. People will be on our side. They will say, you know what? This man he has pierced me to the soul. I
Yeah.
absolutely, I absolutely agree that he should be able to steal his caramel corn unfettered. Go ahead and release the charges. How dare they charge this man with petty theft?
Yeah.
It's a ridiculous thing. No, everybody said, okay, well, he stole. He stole the stuff, and
Yeah.
he was a repeat offender. Throw him in jail. Everybody, okay, everybody that watched it was just like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. So
Yeah.
and this is right there, Dan. This is right there.
Yeah.
You are dead
Yeah.
on. Trying to get people to be okay with her just murdering this rando dude because he was a jerk is not. That's not okay. That's not how any of this works, man. Like,
Yeah.
no, there were better situations that you could have put where she snaps on somebody completely different. This was not that. So I
Yeah.
I don't know. The writers are just very, very lazy. This does feel very AI. It does not feel like
Yeah.
actual people wrote the show. That's
Yeah.
not. It doesn't feel that way to me.
Yeah, to what Jon Snow knows nothing said. Like, we're supposed to like cheer for her when she kills that man and feel bad for her when Wendy's brother shoots her with the zap gun. And it's like, I don't. Like, I also didn't feel bad for the T-Rex when they prodded it with a cattle prod in Jurassic Park. It was a T-Rex. It was gonna bite people, so I didn't feel bad for Nibs because she ripped a man's face off and was about to snap the head off of the lead Marine lady. So I mean, no, I don't care. You know. Oh,
Like, they were really jerks to Willie and Free Willy. Maybe we should have just had a whole scene where Willie just ripped somebody to shreds. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Really just let Willie get everything out there. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's like,
It shouldn't have.
you people really don't understand what kind of stories you're trying to tell. Okay. And the stories you're trying to tell are not the stories that are coming across. You're trying to tell a horror story, and a horror story needs to have a completely different setup, a completely different set of characters. You guys completely and totally missed it, and now your bad sci-fi mixing with your horror is just not going to work. People aren't buying it.
Yeah, this is a show that can't pick a genre because okay, you don't have a horror story or an action adventure story, which are the two genres where Alien works. But for either of those genres to work, you need a protagonist, you need a hero that you root for. That can be complicated. They don't have to be the best person, but it has to be somebody at least charismatic enough that you root for them and you want them to survive and you fear for them not surviving, or you're at least excited about seeing how they prevail. You know what I'm saying? You need somebody in the front that you're like, oh man, I hope he makes it, or how's he gonna make it? That's the crux. Now,
They thought they had it. They thought they had it with Wendy. That you can tell. They thought the rest of this is just window dressing. as long as we can get people pushing for Wendy till the very end. But they did not give us the writing to do that. They just
No.
didn't. They gave us a character that is unlikable. They gave us a character that, and look, the the actress I think is doing a phenomenal job with what she is given to do.
Yeah.
Okay, I think the actress is this is Summer Glau. This is like on the Summer Glau level. Like she unfortunately is way too good for this show, and she'll probably end up finding her legs somewhere else. But Wendy is not that character. Wendy is not the character that everybody is going to root for. I honestly don't care what happens to Wendy.
And in some places, I feel like they're going for deep philosophical science fiction. For that, you don't need a relatable protagonist, because you can have all shades of gray where you're trying to make some moral point about how everybody's flawed, right? But they're not really doing that either, because you, like, in that type of story, you can't squeeze in a bunch of thriller action adventure elements, because they don't work, because there's no tension, because you're not worried about any of these people. That's the thing. If you're going to do something deep, it's got to be deep and stay deep, and you got to tell the story in dialogue, because there's going to be no tension in your thriller scenes because you're not rooting for anyone. It just, anyway. Barry on is slow. Murray's an asshat. The guy blackmails a 10-year-old kid and then gets mad it wasn't done to his exact specifications, which I think he screwed up the specs. Like, didn't they follow his timeline pretty close? Like, maybe, Tim, you're still muted. You're muted. Tim, you're on mute.
Sorry. Okay. So
anyway,
he was rushed to get the guy out of the bedroom. So that's probably part of it. It was like, I think are we to suspect that extra, what was it? Maybe let's just say 30 minutes. That extra 30 minutes is the difference. It's like, no, they were probably on the beach trying to get where they were going for hours. Okay. So like, right. What are we doing here? Like, are we supposed to think that accounts for it? I don't think that was too much. And so I don't know, man. There's a lot that they really have not explained, but yeah, it seems to me that they did. I mean, he told him when he got there, I did exactly what you told me to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But once again, this is a 10-year-old kid here, man. Like, like what did you expect? You blackmailed the 10-year-old kid. That was your master plan. Your master plan was not to take your team of guys in there to an area that had no security. I'm going to say that again. To an area that had no security, to sneak your Navy SEAL Marine guys in and just get the specimens, which you probably could have done. But you decided to go ahead and try to blackmail a 10-year-old kid, and now you didn't get it done right. So, yeah.
And here's the thing. If Smee and Slightly had done it exactly right? Here, Smee and Slightly were waiting on the beach with the husk of Arthur's dead body when Morrow and his SEAL team come out of the water. So if they had gotten Arthur with the gestating alien all the way to the shore where they were supposed to be, what were they supposed to do while they stood on the shore waiting for Morrow and the xenomorph bust out of his chest and ran into the weeds and got away? I mean, if they had made it all the way to the rally point with him intact, the same thing would have happened. It would have bust out of his chest. It would have got away. Like, Morrow would have been the one who was late. I mean.
And let's talk about this, Dan. There seemed to be quite a bit of time between when it busted out of the chest and when Kirsch caught it, right? So, and when he presented it tomorrow. And my understanding from xenomorphs is they grow pretty darn quick, right? I mean, I was kind of surprised that it had not progressed past the tadpole stage here. I was kind of surprised.
So here's the thing. Kirsch is so smart, Tim, that not only did he know that they would not make it to the rally point with the xenomorph intact in Arthur's chest, he knew exactly where they would be on the beach when it burst out of his chest, and exactly which way the tadpole would go. And his net caught it as soon as it hit the grass, and it has not had anything to eat, so it can't grow. That's how smart Kirsch is, Tim. He's just that smart.
Yes, you're right. He planned it all. You know, he's just like Sherlock Holmes, but with xenomorphs. That's yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
Yes. He knew where they would be. He knew where it would go. He caught it right away. It didn't eat so much as a squirrel.
Yes,
It didn't even have a squirrel.
the space master of deduction, right there. That's just crazy.
Yeah. He's that many steps ahead. He's better than Batman, Tim. Kirsch with prep time beats Batman. That's how good he is. Aided by Sherlock Holmes and Chuck Norris. That's how good Kirsch is. Thug Dog says, why is Wendy more special than all the other scents? Exactly. The only one mentally connected to the xenomorphs. Also, just seems more independent than the others. I don't know that this was ever explained.
Well, and we've talked about it. You know, it did not appear that Slightly and Smee had super strength, right? So
Right.
I don't know. Like, do they all have the same abilities? Are they all indestructible? Are they all, you know, these are things that really have not been well explained. You know, and we saw what happened to Toodles when he got stung by one of those mineral eating bees. And so yeah, I don't know, man. Like there's a lot of things that we don't understand about these particular synths, and they never really were explained. All we know is whatever we need them to be able to do right now is what they can do. So, you know, when I need Wendy to be able to kill a xenomorph with an old school paper cutter and not get acid on herself in the process, we can do that. And when I need Wendy to be able to jump off a cliff and land and not hurt herself, we're going to have her be able to do that. And when I need Slightly and Smee to not be able to pick up a 200-pound man, we're going to have them do that, you know. And so when I need the redhead to be able to pull a face off a guy, I'm going to have her do that. Whatever they need to do in this moment is what we're going to have them do. So
yeah, when the dumb one, like at the strength levels that Wendy's portrayed, you'd think he could bust through the glass when those bees were about to get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that shouldn't have been that big a deal. He should have been, or pry open the door. How strong is that door motor?
You know, or communication. You know, why was there no communication? You know, there's all kinds of stuff there that you're just like, you know what I mean? That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, that doesn't really track with. And the other thing, like, especially Slightly and Smee are both playing the kid angle so much more than any of the other ones. You know what I'm saying? They're so immature.
I was going to bring that up. I like Slightly. I can kind of see the angle. I feel like Smee is overdoing it a little bit. Like I know that he's a kid, and I know, but like the first was it episode 2 when they went into when they sent them into the spaceship? Was that episode 2 or 3? I forget. But yeah, that's the one where he was just like the monster, and it's just like, man, like, you know, I get it. These are kids, and they're in these adult bodies because they're never going to grow. But it was, to me, that was one of those things that just kind of set the tone that they were always going to have these kids be kind of overplayed. And I feel like Wendy, as the oldest one, because she was like 12 or 13, something like that. You know, as the oldest one, she is the most mature, which makes sense. But at the same time, at the same time, just because she's the most mature doesn't mean that she still doesn't have her moments where she's trying to explain things and they don't really make sense. And, it seems like she's kind of like a kid. I've made the comparison before. I think that she's kind of like Lilu in Fifth Element kind of thing,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
she's just kind of new to this world, new to this body, new to a lot of things around her. And so that kind of is what it reminded me of a little bit. And then, but yeah, I mean, there are a lot of examples of people that are that are child in man's body that are great examples. Tom Hanks in Big, Will
Yeah.
Ferrell and Elf. I mean, there's a lot of great examples out there. I just think that a lot of these actors, they just did not nail the role very well. I think that they overdid the role, and I think that a lot of people are going to see it that way. It was such an unnecessary angle. Why do they have to be kids? Why can't they just be adults that don't want to die or something? There was a lot of stuff here that they didn't really need to do that they did.
But then you wouldn't have all the creepy Peter Pan. So I mean, come on, man. And yeah, Wendy is special. Kid Cavalier tells us she's special because she was first. And the show, she is so much more capable, advanced. She does so many things that the other ones can't do and is so much better at everything. And of course, we all know when you're making highly experimental prototypes of a new technology, the first one is always the absolute best one, and from there they get less and less capable, right? That's how it works when you're making technology.
Yeah, man. I think that's the thing. Like like her being the first one and also being the best is something that is also, it's very, very interesting.
Yeah,
It's very, very interesting. It doesn't make any sense with anything that anybody has ever known. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I mean, it in it your first copy is always, kind of like, okay, this is a little better than the next one. Is like, okay, we've kind of refined a little bit. But yeah, to have the first one be the best one, it was kind of a weird situation there. And maybe
yeah,
she's just, because she's older, she's the one that's realized her full capabilities and all that. I don't know, but they really haven't explained it.
yeah, yeah. They're running off of multiplicity logic. They're acting like these are copies and not independent prototypes being improved. They're like, this is a copy of a copy. It came out not quite as sharp as the original. I mean, we got Nibs over there going, I like pizza. I got a
She
wallet.
touched my peppy, Steve.
Yeah. Yeah, Nibs Peppy got took. Nibs was gonna have a baby, so
She said that you say you're gonna fix stuff and you never fix stuff.
yeah. I got a
I
wallet.
can quote
That
that movie.
guy
We
gave
are definitely gonna do that for Slab, Dan. We're definitely doing that
yeah.
movie for Slab. We've got to. Okay.
I want to put a slice of pizza in my wallet. Anyway. Oh, is there a worse wife in TV history than the lab wife? So I think we're talking about the psychiatrist, and I mean, man, she sold Arthur out. Now, Tim,
I don't
what is
I don't know. Like, yeah, I feel like that was another unnecessary thing. Like, why do we have to have a married couple in the lab? Like, I don't know that was ever really a thing that we needed to have. Why couldn't they have just been randos that worked in a lab together? Because honestly, I don't know that they've ever had anything addressed that needs to be, like, because now he's dead. She doesn't know that he's dead. And by the time she finds out that he's dead, the series is going to be over and she's probably going to die. So I'm not really understanding why we had to have a married couple in the lab to begin with. And I don't know, there's a lot of things that this is just a perfect example of them just kind of overthinking the room a little bit, trying to put a little bit of backstory where there didn't need to be, those kind of things. But yeah, I mean, you're right. The way that she sold him out and kind of drew the line in the sand and said you're either with this or you're against this, and he was against it and she was for it. So that's not something that a wife and husband would typically do.
I'm going to lay this out as another on the table thing that I think was intended to be in this show. It just shows you how garbage this show really is, that they don't develop any of their ideas. And everything just goes by at such a pace that you don't even care anymore. The scene in this episode that I had to like go back and be like, did that just happen? Where Curly goes to the therapist lady for comfort. You know, Curly is the kiss ass. She's the one who's learning French to impress Kid Cavalier. And so she, after Nibs and Wendy have gone, and Curly has pinky promised not to tell on them, even though she wouldn't go. And that was just taken on faith that, of course, Curly, who is a backstabber, would not backstab them because she promised. I thought Wendy would go pinky promise. She didn't do it. But anyway, Curly goes to her. She called her mom. So now, does she think of her as a mother figure because she's the therapist and she's done this for him? But it's also been hinted at in the show that the real brains behind the whole process and transferring these consciousnesses and making it work is Arthur. Like Kid Cavalier, you get the vibe that Kid Cavalier didn't design this process, that Arthur did, but it's intimated just very scarcely that you could draw that conclusion. This is a storyline that would be so much more dramatic and entertaining than the one we got. It wouldn't be Alien, but try this on for size. The therapist lady and Arthur had a terminally ill child. Arthur developed this whole process to save his terminally ill child, and she helped. They are the real brains behind this, and Curly is their daughter. And I think that is true. I think that is actually the case. And the fact that I'm having to piece this sort of together, it's not even like laid out well enough that I could be 100% confident. And then also, even though I've just laid it out, if they make that as a reveal, I'm still going to say that they didn't plant the seeds well enough to make that a good reveal. Is what
I
I'm
wouldn't have caught that in a million years. I would not have caught that in a million years, and I would not have, of all the directions I would have been pointed, I would not have pointed myself that direction.
Yeah, but just her calling her mom made me think this through. And then Arthur is totally aghast when they were going to remove one of Nib's memories, and he's thinking, okay, Curly is my daughter, and what are you going to do to my daughter and her memories and so on? It makes everything seem, but again, this is the kind of show where you have things like, okay, we got the guy with the face hugger, Arthur got the face hugger, there's all kinds of drama. How do we get him to the room? How do we get him off the island? Well, Smee finds Slightly immediately. Kirsch finds both of them immediately. The face hugger busts out of his chest, like in real screen time, from the time the face hugger latches on to the bust out of his chest is like 25-30 minutes. Wendy gets her brother. She's not supposed to tell him. They tell him it like 2 minutes after they run into each other. Now he knows. They don't milk drama out of anything in this show. And they keep trying to, the things they do milk are stupid and you don't care. It's.
Yeah. And I mean, this isn't even really addressing the biggest problem in the show, which we got to this week, which was Wendy releasing the xenomorph. Okay. Not releasing the xenomorph, knowing full well it was going to kill everyone in the lab on the way out the door. Right. Right. It was gonna, in order to get out, it was going to kill a whole bunch of people. people that she knew, people that she saw, not people that were evil people, but not
Yeah.
Boy Cavalier and all his little minions, but just people that were just there working that day. And so she had to know that was going to happen. She had to be okay with that happening. And then when they're surrounded by all of the bad guys, she calls it like a dog and has it come and pounce on people like a raptor from Jurassic Park in the grass. And it was just the silliest thing I had ever seen in my entire life, Dan. I feel like that addition to this IP has completely and totally torn it completely down to studs. It's the Acolyte version of when we saw Yoda at the end of the Acolyte. It's like everything that you knew is completely out the window now. And now this is the new Disney version of this IP. And that's where I kind of feel like this episode just completely and totally just lost me. Because that's not what I want out of my Alien IP. I want just the bloodthirsty monster that you don't know where it's at, and everybody is scared of it. Nobody can talk to it.
Because what would
it
you
can't
say?
be
It's a
reasoned
killing
with.
machine.
It's a drone. It's a killing machine. And that doesn't even get into a lot of the issues that we saw with the suit. Oh my goodness, the suit. Oh, the suit, Dan.
In the bright sunshine, in the bright full sunshine,
in the
of
bright light,
midday.
the bright light sunshine. The one thing you don't want to have in the masterful work of Ridley Scott was the fact that he took that suit and made it one of the most terrifying things in American cinema. And it is just not that in this show. In this show, it's no better. It's no better than any other suit that's ever been put on in cinema.
Yeah. No, and then old dude, like, he falls out of the tree, kills all the people, and just like stands up and walks over. Just like a dude would stand up and walk over. He ain't crawling, he ain't making weird xenomorph type movements. He's kind of crouched over a little bit, but just kind of walks over like, hey, how's it going? What's up?
Yeah.
Look,
yeah,
Wendy,
definitely.
like, how you doing?
Let's Wendy wipe the blood off his, I guess what's supposed to be his eyes. I don't know. And then it's just, this whole thing is just so tired. I just don't understand. I don't understand what they think they have here. Like, who got this to the writing table and said, okay, guys, so get this, and then we get to that moment and everybody there was just like, green light. That's what we got to do right now.
Wendy is so irreconcilably awful, because this episode opens, Wendy sees Toodles dead in the lab, right? And she's still all pissy about Nibs having a memory wiped, even though, here's the thing, Toodles wanted to assist in the lab because he always wanted to be a scientist. Toodles ended up being a complete moron and shutting himself in the cage with dangerous animals from outer space. But why?
Yeah, my boy had Barney Fife syndrome right there, right? How many times did Barney Fife lock him in the cell, lock himself in the cells in Mayberry, only to have Andy walk in and have to let him out, right? We saw that 1,000 times. Otis, right?
Otis. He let Otis out. Yeah. Otis is free, and here's Barney in the
Otis
cell.
is free, and Barney's locked in the cell, and Andy comes in, right? But this is the thing, man. The problem is, if you're going to have that kind of thing, you need to set that character up as an absolute idiot. That needs to be the idiot of the show. And they have tried to have everybody be the idiot of the show, okay? Up to and including Arthur, one of the smartest people in the world that created this multi-billion-dollar thing, is just as big an idiot as the 10-year-old guy named Toodles, all right?
Yeah.
we cannot have this kind of lazy writing where everybody is a moron. You just
Well,
can't have that. Okay.
but now here's the I'm, so Wendy, Toodles is dead because Toodles was doing what he always wanted to do. Nibs has had a memory because she's been traumatized. Now, there's one underlying reason that ties these together. Why does Toodles have dangerous creatures to attend to? Why is Nibs traumatized? Because Wendy insisted that her and the rest of them were sent into a dangerous crash site to hunt down dangerous, extraterrestrials because they could handle it. And they were, everybody said, you won't be safe. You guys aren't ready. And she's like, we'll be safe. We can handle it. We got to save my brother. Right. And so she insisted that not only her, but her and all of them be thrown into harm's way to save her brother. And yet in this episode, now that Nibs has had a memory wipe and Toodles is dead, she's like, we're not safe here. We're not safe. They don't care about us. We have to get off the island. Well, she sure cared a lot about safety when it was her brother that needed saved from a crash site, even though he's a Marine and that was his job.
And like you said, Dan, this is all once again. Now she's kind of got the idiot ball. She's the one that turned all of that basically encouraged all of these people to do all these things that got them killed or got them in danger or what have you. And so it's like it was her and her idiot, idea that she had to go save her brother that ended up being the issue. And so I feel like that this whole series, I feel like the writing just doesn't make any sense. I feel like the plot is not good. I feel like it is misgenred. I feel like they have not given us a proper genre for the IP of Alien. And I feel like overall the show is, even though it's produced well, and it is produced very well, I feel like you can actually see the money. Okay. I still feel like there's just a lot of empty. There's a lot of empty. There's a lot of dead space. There's a lot of things that they could be doing differently. So I mean, right now, yeah. If I had to grade this right now, it would be way down on the totem pole. Like I'm talking like 1 to 2. That's where I would be grading this on a scale of 1 to 10. This is like Acolyte level bad. Okay. And
it really is.
Like I said, the reason I'm not getting near as animated about it as I did with the Acolyte is because, like you've mentioned, we're not huge Alien fans. So, they can stomp all over that IP and I can say, okay, well, I can still watch the first 2 movies and feel good about myself, But but Star Wars, it was different, right? Star Wars, you're messing with my childhood at that point. So I feel like this is one of those situations where Disney they were kind of trying something out. They thought they had something with putting this on cable late at night. They thought they were going to garner an audience that way. And I think that's what they're testing. Their test more than anything, it wasn't necessarily to actually create a good show. I think what they were trying to see is, if we put a well-known IP with R-rated content on FX at 10 o'clock at night or whenever this is on, will we get a decent cable audience? And right now the answer is no. They're not going to get a decent cable audience. And because of that, I feel like this show, it was just kind of a beta test, and it feels that way. All right. The content doesn't even really matter. And because the content doesn't even really matter, that's why we have all this nonsense that we've been pontificating about for an hour and 18 minutes at this point.
But like the content always matters, and you don't really know the answer to your question, because no, you won't get an audience if the show is awful and everybody knows it.
Right.
That just,
That's right.
I mean, it
Disney,
doesn't matter what the IP.
that's what Disney doesn't get. And, Disney thinks that the reason that they had failures with the MCU on network television in Agent Carter and Agents of Shield, right? So the reason they think that they had those failures is because they thought, okay, well, network TV blending with the cinematic universe was just too much. No, it wasn't. Okay, that would have been awesome if you had executed it well. You did not execute it well.
Yeah.
That was the problem. And so I feel like Disney kind of has this idea where they think that they need to just kind of go out there and see, well, is there going to be this audience? Are people actually going to at least tune in and see? They didn't. Okay, for a well-known IP like Alien, they did not tune in for episode 1 on FX. And that's a huge problem. They had a 2-episode premiere. It released on FX, and they didn't get 500,000 people to watch. I mean, that's outrageous. 500,000 people on a show like this. I mean, that's nothing for a cable audience. Yeah, if you were going to tell me that was the start of this, I would have just pulled the rest of it. I would have said, let's take the tax break and just put the rest of it straight on streaming. I'm not going to waste my money on cable TV trying to do those spots anymore.
Yeah, here's the thing. If the show was good, you could get positive word of mouth, and maybe it goes better from then, And
yeah. I think the big problem is they didn't promote this show. I mean, did you ever see anything about this show other than a trailer here and there? I didn't see like posters and promotions and all kinds of stuff on my social media. It should have been flooding my social media, right? With all the other sci-fi and nerdy content that I watched.
I didn't see. I'll tell you the truth. I think I saw one post or one something. I think I half knew it was coming out. Maybe I saw somebody talking about it on YouTube. Again, Bonebridger's a big Alien fan, so maybe he mentioned it. And other than that, I have seen more ads for it since we started watching it than before it came out. And by the time I started seeing ads for it, we were enough episodes in that I knew it sucked. That's when I started seeing ads.
I think they honestly thought they could buy time to episode 5, and I think that they thought episode 5 would propel people through the end of the series, and it just didn't do that.
No. This is a show that started kind of like, if this is great, it started kind of here, and kind of like a 4, maybe a 4.5. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. It wasn't a 5. It wasn't like average. It was a little bit below. There were really good elements there, set design, costume design, general lighting. It had the right look, right? But it got worse every episode. And by this episode, every second that you watch, the whole series is getting worse for every second it's on the screen this episode.
Who did we have for music this week, Dan? We got to mention it since we've mentioned it every week. Who did we have for music?
This week was a step up. It was Queens of the Stone Age. Queens of the Stone Age. The song was pretty heavy. I can't remember which one it was.
I still prefer Godsmack, and I still don't think that we're going to see Pantera now, because if this trend continues, they're going to get newer and newer music towards the end. So I'm expecting like something from the 2010s maybe for the next episode.
We'll get the 7 Nation Army to wrap this whole thing up, because that's not overplayed. The White Stripes doesn't get paid too much. That'll be totally original. It's so infuriatingly bad. And like I said, there are different avenues that could have and would have been interesting. Again, the whole thing feels like a first draft, and now it doesn't even feel like a good first draft. It's like the kind of first draft where you keep like a third of it or maybe a quarter and you throw the rest of it away. And that's what it feels like.
So much dead space. I feel like, and Disney needs to learn a lesson here. I really hope that Disney learns how to condense their content. Give me 30-minute, 35-minute episodes. I don't need 50. I don't need 55. I don't need an hour. I don't need an hour 5. Give me 35-minute episodes. Give me nothing but wall-to-wall action. Give me no dead space. And give me a plot that is linear and makes sense. That is what people want out of TV. If you want captivating TV, you got to do it. Don't try to do crash TV with a series like this. When you're trying to get people to pay attention to 5 or 6 different storylines in an hour episode, and you have so much dead space, there's going to be so many things where it just feels like nothing is happening. And that's kind of where we were with a good chunk of this series. It was slow. The pacing was slow. The story was bad. I just don't feel like there's really any way that it's going to be redeemed next week. I just don't know how it possibly could be.
Yeah, this is like we said this with the first 2 episodes. I was on there, and it's all about the pacing, the characterization. I feel like, because you just said nothing is happening, and the thing is, so many things are happening. It just feels like nothing is happening. I mean, if you were to sit and make a bullet list of all the things that were happening, you'd be like, oh my God, so much is happening. And you watch it, it feels like nothing because you don't care. That's the problem. That's why it feels like nothing is happening. There's no stakes. You don't care.
Absolutely.
So anyway, that's Alien Earth. That's Disney products in a nutshell. Did you want to say? Did you want to give Bob any kudos at all, Tim? You had mentioned?
Hey, Bob, we absolutely we here at Nerd Champs, we co-sign to your idea of firing Mr. Kimmel. We definitely co-sign to that. So we don't give you your props very often, Bob. But job well done there.
Yeah. Hopefully, we find out that this indefinite hiatus turns into a full-on cancellation, and just way to actually grow a spine and do something that makes sense for once. Maybe it's a sign of things to come. Maybe we could start getting projects that make sense for once. We could start trying to entertain people at some point.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to go back and check the tweets of Kathleen Kennedy and Kevin Feige just to make sure they haven't said anything inaccurate in the last week or so.
Right. Hopefully, maybe we could get them under that same bus. So anyway, I'm Dan. This is Tim. We're here on Nerd Champs. You found us. And until next week, Tim, OH.